Today's lesson is all about making sure we understand the hand tools we would use, being familiar with them and what they do and how to be safe. So as a little starter, make sure you've got, so how do you know which tools to use for different practical tasks? Practice is anything that will help you. Can you just ask for a saw? No, the answer is no. There's lots of different tools within the same category, and you've got to ask for the right thing, and you've got to know what you're using, otherwise you use the wrong thing and your work won't go well. Okay, so we're going to try and recognize a range of hand tools, apply a risk assessment to hand tools, so making sure we're safe. That's probably the most fundamental thing, is we don't use tools unless we can be safe. We need to, we can identify the parts of the most common tools, specify the tasks that most common the tools are used for, and also identify different parts in a variety of different hand tools. We'll get onto that later. Okay, so understanding tools. Tools are very important in DT, and knowing which tool to use for everything you design and make is paramount to the success of the product. While many tools look similar, using the wrong tool may damage your work of the tool. Also, it might actually hurt you if you use it incorrectly. So it's important to know what you're talking about. We can break tools down into categories according to their function. So I've done it here. We've got measuring and marking tools, cutting tools, shaping and braiding, drilling, hitting and fixing, which is what we're going to look at today. We've got 3 tools in each category. There are more tools than just the 3 that I'm giving you for each category today, but these are kind of commonly used ones that you should know and be aware of. So marking and measuring. So this is anything that helps mark out measurements, lines, things we're going to cut, things we're going to drill, stuff like that. So first one up is the tri-square, and it is used to make 90-degree lines to an edge. Health and safety, corners can be sharp. Obviously, you don't want to be throwing it around or being silly with it. Next one down is a marking gauge. You can run that along an edge to create a line that is parallel to an edge, and obviously the pin can be sharp, so take care as it can catch your finger. And we've got steel rule there as well, which is used for marking and measurement. It's not really, we don't really use it for drawing lines so much because we use the other tools for that, but it is used for measuring, and also as the end of the steel rule starts at 0, we can then use that to mark out, to measure the setting for our marking gauge as well. Obviously health and safety, they can be sharp, a bit sword-like, so we need to be nice and sensible with it. There we go. Cutting tools, we've got anything that can cut and remove large sections of material. So we have a tenon saw, which has been in the videos that you've seen, cutting straight lines in wood, and obviously the teeth are sharp, so being careful when you're carrying it around and keeping your fingers out of the way of where it's cutting, so it doesn't slip into your fingers if you slip with the saw. This chisel here is called a bevel edge chisel because there's an angle at the sides. It's for removing waste material that can be difficult to remove with a saw. So for example, if you're doing a mortise joint or you're doing a little recess inside something, you can't saw that, so that's what the chisel is often used for. The last tool there is a coping saw. It's for cutting curved lines and has a much thinner blade, so you can move it around different ways. Right, shaping and braiding. This is for removing small amounts of material, really small things to make sure everything's perfect, or making sure things fit properly. Generally, you use a saw to cut most things and to do most jobs, but this is just for the tiny bit that you need to kind of get rid of. Glass paper. Some people call it sandpaper. Traditionally, it was made with sand, but now it really isn't. We use glass, or we use the technical name, which is aluminium oxide paper. We use that to rub away small amounts of material, making it smooth to touch, or just to take a little bit off to make it to take off markings and things like that potentially. Obviously, rubbing down can produce dust, so make sure you work in a ventilated area with adequate extraction. Extraction is when we have a tool or a machine that kind of circulates the airflow, so we tries to take out the dust of the air, so you don't breathe it in. Next one down is a file, not to be mistaken with a chisel or a bradawl, which we'll get to later. You've got to know what you're looking at. So this tool here, you get to look at them much closer, but there's teeth on this tool here, little tiny sort of teeth, a bit like a nail file, but bigger. And it's used for removing waste material on an end or an internal cutout. So where you made your finger joints on the video, you'd be filing that away to make sure it fits properly. There you go. It's often heavy. People sometimes hit them together because they think it's funny, but obviously they can shatter. So it means that that can then break and then fly up in the air, which is not good. And also, it's not good for levering things open because it's not made of that kind of material. It's good for filing things down because it's hard, but it doesn't actually. But it can be quite brittle. It's not very tough. Going back to our keywords from our first lesson. Now, smoothing plane here. This is like a razor that shaves off bits of wood off the length of a piece of wood. So it has to be going along the grain, not across it. We'll get into grain when we cover woods. But yeah, and health and safety is a big blade in the middle, so you need to be careful when you carry it around because it's sharp. Okay, drilling, hand drill. Obviously, we turn the handle and it allows us to drill holes. Health and safety is there. Obviously, you can trap loose skin. Sorry, loose hair or skin. Loose skin's a bit weird. The bradawl, we can use that to push into a piece of wood to mark a hole or to serve as a pilot hole for a screw when you're screwing a fixing in. You can use that. Obviously it's sharp, so we need to be careful when we carry it around and when we use it so we don't slip. And the center punch here is usually used for metal, but can be used on wood and probably not plastic because it will shatter it. But you can mark the center of a hole so the drill bit doesn't move around on top of the material. Health and safety, it needs to be struck with a hammer. So obviously you want to make sure your hand's in the right place and don't trap your fingers or any skin as you hit the top of the center punch. Hitting tools. We've got a mallet. This is quite often used for striking chisels and wooden fixtures, like tapping in a little dowel fixing for a dowel joint perhaps. Sometimes the mallets, because they're made of wood, if there's a change in moisture, that the fitting of the handle and the head together sometimes works its way loose. So sometimes the end of the hammer, the head of the mallet can fly off, or it can work its way down and hit your hand. So it's best to check it before you start using it. Claw hammer, which is quite popular. So just you can strike nails and things like that. Obviously, we can use the claw end to lever out nails if need be. The ball peen hammer, you see it's got a rounded end on the other end, so that can use to push fixings below the surface of a material, or it can be used to shape metal potentially. So there we go. Health and safety, obviously they're hard and they're heavy, so you need to be careful when you're using them, and obviously if you're hitting things you need to make sure your fingers aren't in the way. Fixing tools, you can use these to, and what I want you to do on the worksheet is to make sure that you've got you kind of mix and match all the tools and work out what their jobs are and what their names are. There's no home learning.